Welcome to the Deep Dive. I am your host, and I am here with our resident expert to unpack something really, really special today.
Hey everyone, it is great to be here. I am looking forward to this one.
Yeah, so I want to start with a bit of a personal confession. I was staring at the ceiling at 3 a.m. last night, which is honestly becoming a bit of a habit for me lately.
Oh, the classic 3 a.m. stare.
Right. And as I was lying there, I realized I wasn't even worried about one specific thing. It wasn't like, did I send that email or is the car making a weird noise? It was just this general low-level hum of instability.
Wow.
Like the ground under my feet just wasn't quite solid, you know?
That is the universal hum of the modern condition, isn't it?
It really is.
We are constantly bracing for impact, even when there is absolutely nothing incoming.
Yeah.
We are just looking for something that does not move.
Exactly. We want bedrock. We want something solid. And that is why I am so incredibly excited about the text we are diving into today.
It is a profound one.
It is. We are looking at a composition by Guru Arjan Dev Ji. This is found in the Dhanaasaree section of the Sikh scriptural texts. Specifically for those of you following along at home, this is on Ang 671 and 672.
Perfect.
And looking at the notes we have gathered, it doesn't read like a typical religious hymn.
No, not at all.
It reads like a psychological intervention for someone who is dangerously close to burnout. And our mission today is to figure out how this text guides us from that state of fragmentation and anxiety into what it calls perfect satisfaction.
That is a very apt way to frame it.
Yeah.
It is absolutely a diagnosis and a prescription.
Right.
Guru Arjan Dev Ji is observing the human condition, specifically our fragmentation, our anxiety, and our complete obsession with control, and offering a very specific method to move from that chaos into celestial peace.
Perfect satisfaction and celestial peace. That sounds pretty ambitious. I mean, I would settle for just okayness most days.
I think we all would.
But there is a metaphor coming up later in this text about melting down gold jewelry that I think is the absolute key to this whole thing. It completely reframes how we think about our egos. So I want to make sure we give that enough time because it was a total aha moment for me.
The gold metaphor is definitely the pivot point of the entire composition. It explains why we feel separated from the world and how to fix it without losing ourselves.
But before we get to the gold, we have to start with the problem. The text opens with a very direct challenge to our modern worldview. The line is, "Jis khaTaanee, dhan sabh diska,"
which translates roughly to the body, the mind, and the wealth. All of it belongs to him, meaning the divine.
Okay, so let's pause there. Because my immediate reaction, and I think the reaction of a lot of you listening right now, is resistance.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? Like my body, my mind, my bank account. I feel like I go to the gym, I go to therapy, I go to work. I earned these things.
You put in the hours.
Exactly. They feel very much mine. And honestly, saying they aren't mine feels a little disempowering at first glance.
It is entirely natural to feel that way. We are culturally conditioned to define ourselves by what we own and what we control. But let's look at the psychology of that ownership for a second.
Okay.
If the body is truly yours, you are the sole CEO of its maintenance. Every ache, every sign of aging, every potential illness is a crisis that you have to manage alone.
Man, that is true. That is a lot of pressure when you put it that way.
And the mind. If you own your mind completely, then you are responsible for every intrusive thought, every wave of anxiety, every failure of focus.
Which is exhausting.
Extremely.
Oh.
And wealth.
Yeah.
If it is yours, the fear of losing it is a constant low-level hum in the background of your life. Ownership is heavy.
So the text is actually suggesting that ownership is a trap.
It is suggesting that ownership is a crushing responsibility that we are not actually qualified for. Guru Arjan Dev Ji describes the divine here as sughaR and sujaanee.
And what do those terms mean?
They mean all-wise and all-knowing. So the logic is, why are you trying to micromanage a complex system like a human life when the entity that actually owns it is infinitely wiser than you?
It is like insisting on flying the plane yourself when the pilot is sitting right there next to you, and you have never even been to flight school.
Precisely. Or perhaps even more accurately, it is realizing you are the passenger, not the pilot. You have been gripping the armrest, totally white-knuckled, thinking your anxiety is somehow keeping the plane in the air.
I do that on literal planes, to be honest.
A lot of people do. But the text is saying, let go. It is not your plane. You are just occupying the seat.
That is a relief, but it is also scary. It requires a massive amount of trust. And the text addresses this relationship, right? It talks about who we turn to when things go wrong in that passenger seat.
It does. The line is, Tinhi suniaa dhukh sukh meraa. He alone listens to my pain and my happiness.
Now, we live in the age of therapy, which is great, and venting to friends. Is the guru saying we shouldn't talk to people? That we should just bottle it all up and only pray?
Not at all. Human connection is vital. But there is a functional difference here between human listening and divine listening.
How so?
Well, this text says, bidh neekee khaTaanee, which means, and then my condition improves. The implication is that when we take our pain and pleasure to the divine source, the actual condition of the soul shifts toward the good.
Versus venting to a friend where you might feel heard, but the fundamental problem is still sitting there.
Exactly. Think about it. A friend can offer sympathy. A therapist can offer coping strategies. But the source can offer actual resolution.
Right.
It is the difference between putting a bucket under a leaking roof and actually patching the roof. The text uses the word maanee, meaning the soul is satisfied or agrees only with this connection. Jeea maanee. The soul is only satisfied by this one source.
It is interesting to use the word resolution, because often when I vent, I am just reliving the stress. I am just spinning the story again. This seems to suggest that taking it to the divine is a way of handing the story over completely.
Yes, you are depositing the burden. You are not just describing the weight of the backpack to a friend. You are taking the backpack off and setting it down at the feet of the owner.
So we have this first step. Relinquish the burden of ownership. Admit you are not the pilot. But let's be real, humans are stubborn creatures. We usually try absolutely everything else first before we let go of control.
We really do. And the text actually calls us out on that, very gently but firmly. It says, Avar jatan kara bakuter. People make many other efforts.
Other efforts. That covers a whole lot of ground. What are we talking about specifically here?
It covers everything we do to manufacture stability externally. In our modern context, that is, accumulating status, seeking validation online, hoarding resources, trying to control our partners or our environments.
Yep, I feel seen right now.
We expend massive amounts of energy on these projects to make ourselves feel safe.
I think everyone listening does that. We tell ourselves, if I just get this promotion, I will finally feel secure. Or if I just hit this number in my savings account, I can relax.
Exactly. And this is where the text delivers a pretty harsh reality check on the return on investment of those external efforts.
What is the verdict on all that hustling?
It is a harsh valuation.
Yeah.
The line is, tin til nahi kimet jani.
Break that down for us. What is a till?
A till is a sesame seed.
A sesame seed. Really?
Yes, the text literally says their value is not even that of a sesame seed.
Ouch. So you spend 30 years building an empire or a flawless reputation or a perfectly curated image, and spiritually speaking, it is worth less than a single sesame seed.
In the context of bringing you lasting, unshakable peace.
Yes.
Because a sesame seed is small, is easily lost, and is insignificant. It blows away in a light breeze. The guru is saying that these external fortifications we build are flimsy. They do not actually protect you from the existential anxiety of being human. They are just a bad investment.
That is incredibly humbling.
Yeah.
It forces you to look at your daily calendar and ask yourself, how much of my day is being spent on sesame seed activities?
That is exactly the right question to ask. We treat the sesame seeds like they are gold, and we treat the actual gold like it is nothing.
Okay, so if we accept that the sesame seeds are worthless for real stability, we need an alternative currency. We need something that actually holds its value. What does the text offer us instead?
The text provides a beautiful contrast here. It introduces the priceless jewel, Nirmala Hira, the diamond beyond price.
And this diamond is the Amrit Nam, the ambrosial name. We talk about Nam a lot in these deep dives. It is often translated just as the name, but it feels like it means something much more active in this context. Is it just repeating a word?
Not here. In this context, Nam isn't just a label or a mantra you repeat mechanically. It is a vital connection to reality. It is the conscious, lived awareness of that divine presence we talked about earlier.
It is an experience.
Exactly. It is the experience of the divine. And look at how the text describes the effect of holding this diamond.
The physical description is really strong. Digai na dolai.
Right. Digai means to fall. Dolai means to waver or shake. So digai na dolai means it cannot be lost, and one does not fall. It cannot be shaken.
That is the stability we're looking for at 3 a.m.
That is the bedrock. Unlike the sesame seed efforts, which fluctuate with the stock market or public opinion or age, this connection, this name, is steady. The text says, dirar karehyo. It remains completely steady.
I really like that contrast. The sesame seed just blows away in the wind. The diamond is heavy, it is solid, it is unshakable, it has gravitas.
And the result of holding this diamond isn't just that you stop shaking. It says, Puran hoy tirupatani, perfectly satisfied. Puran means complete.
That is such a key distinction. It is not just coping. It is not just managing your stress levels. It is being complete. You aren't looking for the next thing to fill the void because there is no void left to fill.
Right. If you hold the diamond, you stop digging around the dirt.
Okay, so we have established the method. Drop the sesame seeds, pick up the diamond. But there is still a barrier here. Even if I intellectually understand all of this, I still feel like me. I still feel separate from you and separate from the divine. This is the ego problem.
The duality, the ham-tum, which means me and you.
Yes, and the text addresses this with that metaphor I teased in the intro. And honestly, this is the part that I think requires the most unpacking because it is so highly visual and so profound.
It is a brilliant piece of imagery. The text says, Alanka mil teli hoya hai.
Walk us through the language here. What exactly are we looking at?
Alanka refers to diverse forms of ornaments or jewelry.
Mm-hmm.
Necklaces, bracelets, rings. These are things that have distinct forms, distinct names, and distinct functions. A ring is not a bracelet. A bracelet is not a necklace.
Right. I am me, you are you. We are different shapes. I am the host, you are the expert.
Exactly. In this metaphor, the ornaments represent our egos, our individual personalities, our job titles, our physical bodies, the things that make us look different from one another, the things we use to say, I am this and you are that.
And what about Tai Li?
Tai Li is the lump, the mass of melted metal. The text is describing melting these diverse ornaments down into a single lump.
So we take the bracelet and the ring and we throw them into the fire.
And what happens to the bracelet?
It disappears. The specific form is gone. The definition of a bracelet is gone.
The form is gone. The name bracelet is gone. But, and this is the crucial part, what happens to the gold itself?
The gold is still there. It didn't go anywhere.
Exactly. Ta te kanik fakani. They're still said to be gold. Kanik is the essence, the gold. The gold never changed. It was gold when it was a bracelet, and it is gold when it is a melted lump. The form was just a temporary illusion.
That is just heavy, because if we apply that to us, to humanity...
If you apply it to us, it suggests that you and I are just temporary shapes taken by the exact same divine essence. When we melt down the ego, when we stop obsessing over being a bracelet, we do not die. We just realize we were gold the whole entire time.
It completely reframes the fear of death, or even just the fear of change. I think we spend so much of our lives polishing our bracelet. Our ego, our career, our looks. We are terrified of getting dented.
We are terrified of the fire because we think we are the shape. But the fire doesn't hurt the gold. It only reveals it. The text says, Oiju bish hamtum kachho timki bat balani. That conversation of me and you is finished.
It is not an argument anymore. You can't argue about which piece of jewelry is better when it is all just one pool of melted gold.
Precisely. The conflict, the jealousy, the endless comparison, it all evaporates because the separation was never real to begin with. It was just form. Mine and yours thinking completely dissolves.
This makes me think about how much energy we waste defending our shape, defending our political views, our social status, our absolute right to be right all the time.
And the guru is asking, why are you defending the shape of the bracelet? Focus on the gold.
So, if we can reach that state, if we can manage to melt a little bit, what does life actually look like? Because we still have to go to work. We still have to pay our bills. We can't just be a lump of gold sitting on the living room floor.
No, we still function in the physical world. But the internal experience changes dramatically. The text describes this new state with very sensory, beautiful language. Pragatyo jat. The divine light appears.
A sudden illumination.
Yes. It is seeing things clearly for the first time, and along with that light, there is a sound. Bajayan hat bani. The unstruck melody resounds.
Unstruck melody. That is a term, anahat, that comes up in yoga and meditation circles too. It sounds very poetic, but what does it actually mean in this specific context?
Think about how sound works in the physical world. It is usually created by friction. Two things striking together. A drumstick hitting a drum, hands clapping, vocal cords vibrating against air. That sound is completely dependent on external action.
Right, it starts and then it stops.
Exactly. It is born of conflict or contact. Silence, then noise, then silence. But an unstruck melody is a vibration that doesn't need a cause. It doesn't need two things to hit each other. It is constant, it is internal, and it is totally independent of the environment. It represents a peace that isn't reactionary.
So you aren't peaceful just because the room happens to be quiet. You're peaceful because the frequency of peace is literally inside you.
Exactly. You carry the quiet with you wherever you go. The traffic can be honking, the deadlines can be looming at work. That is just the friction of the outside world. But the anahat, the unstruck melody, is playing underneath all of it.
That connects right back to the stability we started with, digai na dolai. If the music is internal, the noise outside just doesn't matter anymore.
Precisely. It results in what the text calls sugh, a celestial or natural peace, and soha, which is an internal state of glory. Not external fame, but internal glory. And this leads to the final construction project in the hymn. We started by giving up our ownership of our body and mind, our temporary house. And look what we get in return.
Kahu Nanak nihachal garbadyo. Says Nanak, I have built my eternal home.
Nihachal, immovable, unshakable.
It is a trade. You give up the rental property that you were so stressed about, the body and mind you were trying to hold together with duct tape, and the guru builds you a fortress.
A fortress that cannot be foreclosed on, cannot be destroyed by storms, and cannot ever be taken away. And notice who builds it. Gorakhio Bantani, the guru constructs it.
That is a massive shift in how we think about spiritual work. We so often think we have to build the temple brick by brick ourselves. We have to meditate harder, read more books, just be better people. This is saying, no, you just have to sign the deed over to the divine, and he builds the home for you.
And the deed you are signing over is your ego. That is the price of admission. You give up the illusion of control, and you gain the reality of actual safety.
So let's zoom out and look at this entire roadmap again, because this really is a progression, isn't it? It is not just a collection of nice, disjointed thoughts.
It is a highly logical sequence. It is a step-by-step treatment plan for the soul.
Step 1, the reality check. Stop acting like you own the place. Acknowledge that your body, your mind, and your wealth are the property of the divine.
Which brings immediate psychological relief. You realize you are the caretaker, not the owner.
Step 2, audit your efforts. Recognize that chasing external validation is just sesame seed work. It has absolutely no purchasing power in the spiritual economy.
Step 3, invest in the diamond. Connect with the name, the reality of the divine presence, to find a stability that simply does not waver.
Step 4, the melting. This is the big one. Realize that the separation between me and you is just the temporary shape of the jewelry. We are all exactly the same gold.
And finally, inhabit the eternal home. Live in that state of unstruck melody where the outside world can be chaotic, but your internal state remains completely immovable.
It is such a beautiful trajectory. And you know, what is really going to stick with me most is that gold metaphor. It is so visual. It makes me look at my own daily anxieties about who I am and realize just how temporary those labels are.
It changes the way you interact with others, too. If you can see the gold in them, rather than just the shape of their jewelry, their bad mood, their politics, their status, it becomes so much harder to hate anyone. You realize you are just fighting another piece of yourself.
That is profound. It dissolves conflict at the very root, because you can't be at war with yourself.
It really does. It is the ultimate peacemaker.
Well, before we sign off today, I want to leave all of you listening with something to chew on. We talked a lot about ownership today, and letting go of ownership is really, really hard.
It is the hardest thing we do as humans. Our egos are literally designed to hold on tight.
But the text says this body and this mind aren't yours. So try this thought experiment for yourself. If you truly believed, like actually believed deep down, that your life was the property of a benevolent, all-knowing owner who loves you and you were just house-sitting, how would that change the way you treat your own anxiety today?
That is the perfect question. Because if the billionaire owner called you and said, hey, do not worry about the roof leaking, I got a contractor coming, just sit tight, would you still pace the floor all night worrying about it?
I would probably pour a cup of tea and go right to sleep.
Exactly. You would trust the owner. You would actually enjoy the house without the crushing weight of the mortgage hanging over you.
So try to sleep like a house sitter tonight, not an owner. That is the mission for all of us.
It is a much better way to live.
Mm-hmm.
And it is the only true way to find that Nahyalkalgar, that eternal, unshakable home.
Thank you so much for guiding us through this text today. It has been a truly incredible deep dive.
My pleasure entirely. It is a text that gives you more every single time you read it.
And to everyone listening, thank you for being here with us. Take care of yourselves and stay stable out there.